What is up, friends? Thought of the day number 16. We're moving forward. Why I don't use the Assault Air Bike or the Eco Bike to test CrossFit athletes anymore, because I used to. That's the topic of the video. I'm going to be, or I am writing, I'm finishing writing an article for the Simply Faster blog, which I'm really excited about, on my whole testing process. Got about 7,000 words put down already right now. Still have to include some pictures and videos. So stay tuned for that. Go check out the blog. And I don't know when it's going to be published. Again, it's not finished yet. And I don't know what their timeline is for publishing once things are in. But I've been talking to Nathan, the editor-in-chief, I believe, and I'm excited to collaborate with them on that article. So if you want to learn more about my testing process, go check out that article that will soon be available on the Simply Faster blog. So back to the initial question, I did use the air bike to test CrossFitters. One of the reasons I don't anymore, or one of the reasons that drew me away from it to begin with, was simply the air that is pushed vertically up into the athlete's face, which does not jive well at all with VO2 Master, one of the tools that I use to quantify ventilation and VO2. So the air just brought a lot of disruption to the signal, which wasn't very interesting, in my opinion, or I guess rendered the data useless. So that's one thing that took me away from it to begin with. And I was in the mindset of, well, it's more specific to the sport, it's more full body, there's more transfer. But lately I've been thinking a lot in terms of general versus specific. And I think we're, in general, in sports right now, we're in a hyper-specific phase. And there's obviously exceptions to that, but that's kind of what I see from my point of view. And I'd love to hear your point of view on that. So maybe drop me a comment below to tell me what you think and how you think about these things. Smash the like button if you enjoy those videos too. Don't forget that. Yeah, I've been thinking a lot about this general versus specific continuum. And it just seems like everybody is thinking in terms of specificity alone. And a lot of folks are just throwing the baby out with the bathwater when it comes to general physical preparedness, right? And even in sports like CrossFit, where obviously there's so many movements to learn, so many skills to develop, and so many competencies to be had if you want to perform at a high level, that, well, no, I'm only going to work on the things that are in my sport so that I get better at my sport. And it works to some extent, but if you leave out the whole general physical preparedness part of the spectrum, you're missing a big chunk of what you could do, in addition to the fact that, contrary to the specific work, the general work transfers to everything, right? So if you develop better conditioning, just general conditioning, which is one of the reasons I use the bike erg a lot, the Concept 2 bike erg a lot. It's not necessarily specific to CrossFit. Obviously, it is in some competitions, but I don't get the athletes to test and to train on the bike erg because we see it in competition. Actually, it's the reverse. I get them to test and train on the bike erg because we seldom see it in competitions, and because there's very little skill involved with cycling, and those physiological qualities that we're going to develop have transfer on everything else that you do, right? I've worked with enough people now in this space to know that, hey, you know what? If you never do low intensity training, well, even doing a couple hours of zone 2 per week as a CrossFitter on the bike erg, obviously at the right intensities, will even help you running to some extent, right? I've had an athlete come back last week, say, hey, I went for a run, I hadn't run in a while, and it felt fantastic. And all we've been doing is low intensity zone 2 training. We've done some intensity on the bike as well. But anyway, that's what I'm talking about, those physiological qualities that are general and that transfer to everything specific, which is super interesting in my opinion. And so that's one of the reasons now that I stick with the bike, is because I don't pretend to be sport specific. I don't want to be sport specific. That's actually the opposite of what I want to be, right? I don't want to be sport specific. I leave the sports to the sports coaches. I'm not a CrossFit coach. I'm not a boxing coach. I work with some fighters. I don't pretend that I can program the boxing part of it. However, I do understand conditioning, and those conditioning qualities will serve every athlete out there, right? Obviously, there might be a few exceptions, but being fitter, in my opinion, better conditioned, is not necessarily to improve your competition results, but being better conditioned is going to allow you to tolerate more training, and is going to then allow you to do more specific training for your sport, recover from it better, assimilate it better, adapt to the stimulus better, and then become in turn better at your competition sport. This is kind of the sequence that I'm thinking about. So this is why I don't, and I guess I kind of went away from the initial question, which was air bike, eco bike, why I don't use those. The second reason, and that the exception might be, and thank you, Vince, for pointing that out in my French video in the comments. The exception might be for heavier athletes, okay, 100 kilo plus, that you might be able to get away with some good adaptations on the assault air bike. But for a lot of smaller folks, I would say that the cardiovascular load on those bikes might just reach, might just kind of top out before you can get the physiological adaptations you're looking for, or simply that the cardiovascular load is just too high given the amount of muscle mass that is engaged, and so it's much harder to regulate your intensity on on those implements, um, which I'm maybe 80% confident on as a statement. So if you have a different point of view, please leave a comment below, as always. Um, happy to have my mind changed if there's some good arguments out there for it. But yeah, that's kind of what I've found so far. The bike erg is fantastic as a training tool. It's fantastic as a testing tool. It's general, so it will transfer to everything. It doesn't have too big a muscle mass that is involved, so we reduce the risk of cardiovascular overload. If that's, and I'm not saying that as a, oh, this is bad, don't overload your cardiovascular system. It's just in the context of training specific metabolic and physiologic adaptations, especially peripheral ones. I don't think it's the best tool. So that's my take on it. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Looking forward to hearing your take on that. As always, smash the like button because it helps me if you enjoy my content. And I guess I'll see you in the next video. Take care.